St James's, and my hands, everything, my whole body just lit up. I've got goosebumps all over my skin. There's a feeling in that stadium. I just thought, wow, God. And there was no, that was it.
I will go you. I get those goosebumps every time I'm coming around. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those times, I'm way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need that high, going to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah, we
Hey, get in. First game of the season.
Oh,
Amanda knows, lads. You know, lads. The chatters know, and now Villa know. Get the goosebumps on. It's going to be one hell of a season. Welcome to season 23-24. Let's get it on. Pete, how are you?
You know what? I was saying to you before we went live, I'm a bit ropey today after the all day with my lads. I'm not gonna lie, but I tell you what, that goosebumps has got me right in the mix and put myself another. So cheers to you guys on a great 3 points. Let's get to it.
Cheers, Pete. Cheers. Chris, how are you?
to be honest, mate, I've not stopped smiling all day. You know, seeing us top of the league, first time in God knows how long. I think they said that on Match of the Day, didn't they? 16 years, was it? First time we've been top of the league after the first game. So absolutely buzzing with that. Yeah, I've just not stopped smiling. Just a fantastic performance. And you know, just it we're going to get into the game, so I'm not going to go on about it. But yeah, I'm top of my fantasy league with the boys, and I'm top of the league with Newcastle. So yeah, if Carlsberg did weekends, that's how I've been describing it.
Nice. And you're on holidays as well. So lucky you, Chris.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk a bit about the game. Right, first up, we'll do the team news. So, team news for Newcastle is as follows: Tonali starts, Gordon in there over Barnes, Schär back as well from injury, and Isak over Wilson. But what did you make of the lineup, Pete?
I was intrigued. There was a lot of questions that needed to be answered with regards to that, and you just mentioned a few of them. Look, we've talked about it as a group of lads before. We all said Gordon deserved to start. He does fully deserve to start the game. I was a little bit disappointed Barnes hadn't because of the goal threat, but we'll get to that. Tonali starting, I was surprised. I'm not going to lie. It was a pleasant surprise. I was happy to see him in there. And then really everything else is kind of as I expected it to be. I expected Isak to start over Callum Wilson, the likes of Miggy, Joe Linton to mainstay, as is Bruno. And look, the back five's the back five. So yeah, they were the kind of standouts for me. Gordon and Tonali, and we'll get to that in just a second.
Sorry,
no, don't apologize. But no, yeah, that was kind of my initial thoughts.
Chris, your thoughts on the team as it dropped?
Do you know what? I was really surprised, Daz, and I must admit, little confession, I've still not watched the away days for the Aston Villa, but I was really, yeah, I still haven't watched it. I need to go back.
It was Richie.
I know. I need to go back and watch it.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah. Do I have to? Sorry, Chris. That was only two of us.
Come on.
Oh, we have to let them
We're
back.
meant to be Brandy and Blaze here.
I know. I haven't even got my blazers over there. I've got to go and grab it. But no, I must admit, when I saw the lineup, like my thoughts were, I was a bit gutted for Elliot Anderson. Not going to lie, because I thought he was absolutely outstanding in pre-season. Like you, Pete, I was pleased to see Tonali, but also a little bit hesitant, because obviously Eddie tends to, take his time bringing the players into the team. So that worried me a touch. When I say worry me, it probably didn't worry me, but it just left me with question marks, if you like. But then, like, I noticed a lot of, and boys, tell me if you felt this way. I noticed a lot of people like saying, "Oh, Wilson starts," and I was thinking, really? Like, for me, I think Isak starts all day, every day. We discussed it. Well, Pete especially from memory, saying next season, meaning this season, like we saw Isak as the number one starter, and like some people saying that Wilson starts. I was a bit confused by that, but overall, I was pleased with the lineup, and for me, it kind of left me thinking: is this our strongest 11? Because to me, I couldn't really argue other than Barnes and Gordon, but I think Gordon deserved to start. For me, I think that is probably the strongest 11 as it stands.
It's debatable.
Would you say?
Yeah, I have something I was going to bring up as a question later on, and I think I'll leave it to a question because I think tweak to that. So remind us of that one later on, Chris. But let's carry on. This was the Villa side as well. How they lined up. Emery's side. Right. Let's get into the game now. Rather than going through blow by blow like I used to do in the past, I narrowed it down to just the goals or the key highlights because there's way too much happening. So, okay, first up, it's a goal on 6 minutes for Tonali on his debut, and I'll talk you through that goal. But here's his little celebration as well. But yeah, Bruno had a shot saved. Gordon was then down the wing, passed to J7, a little 1-2. Gordon onto it again. And Gordon put a cross in, Tonali on the volley as he ran into the box, back of the net. What did you make of that? Pete, we go to you.
Oh, man. When you see that at the back of the net, oh, my God, I was in dreamland. It's just such a great goal. Great passage of play, everything about it, from the Bruno shot. The way we worked the ball for Bruno's shot, and then we transitioned the play. Gordon, I love what Gordon did. Not the delivery. He just keeps the defenders guessing. They don't want to be anywhere near him. So he plays it to Joe Linton, and he drops forward, and bang, he's on the turn, and the defender's already got 3 yards to make up on it, and the ball gets played in. Lovely delivery, perfect delivery on his weaker foot as well. But this is why we bring Sandro Tonali and pay 55 million for players like this, because players like this do this instinctively. He was signed potentially as a number 6. He can play on the right side of midfield, but he pops up on the penalty spot to put you 1-0 up in a big game. These are what big game players do. And the execution of the goal is unbelievable. That ball was hit I think it was on the half volley. It might have been on the volley. I'm not quite sure. But to keep that ball down and to hit it so emphatically the way he did, just absolute top class. This is what you pay your money for. It's for top class quality footballers. Brilliant goal.
Top class. 100% there, Pete. Chris, your thoughts on Tonali's goal?
It's brilliant, wasn't it? It was absolutely brilliant. I mean, like, I had to do a double take because when obviously, we saw Gordon, Pete's right, he leaves the fullback guessing, and because he's got that burst of pace and turn, the drop of the shoulder, and he just turns. Players tend to stand off him, and then so he looks like he's going to his right. He then feigns, go back to the left, and then he hits it on his left foot. And I forget who it was. I think it might have been Craig Hope saying, this is the advantage of having someone like Anthony Gordon who's comfortable on left or right. and he puts the cross in just the right height. I think it goes over Conce's head. I think it was Conce. And I had to do a double take because at first I thought it was Bruno, because Bruno arriving late in the box, and then I looked and I was like, oh my God, it's Tonali. Because I just wasn't expecting him to, come scissor kicking, like karate chopping in the air to finish it. And it was a great finish. And I made up for them because hopefully, this is the start of something now. And, what better way to mark your debut with scoring in 4, 5, 6 minutes? And it really set us on a good path. But great goal. Arrival in the box. I didn't really, and we were told, weren't we, when we first got to Tonali, not to expect goals. So for them to go and do that was brilliant.
Yeah, no, I agree, Chris. And I wasn't expecting that either. All the other great points about him when I was talking about him ages and ages ago. But it was like a double take as well. That's Tonali.
Yeah,
what? He can do that as well as everything else, and the exceptional passing and dovetailing with Bruno and everything else. Class. Looking forward to just watching him this season. Never mind everyone else and what else we're going to do. Right, let's move on. 10 minutes. We're into the 10th minute now, and okay. Spoiler alert: Diaby scores, but it was a nice little finish as well. Pope didn't die for it because there was no point. It was good and there was no save in that one. Cross came in at the time. J7 looked to be the closest, looked to be kind of marking Diaby. It probably wasn't his man, but he was the closest at that time. But volley by Diaby, back in net, 1-1. Do you want to blame anyone there, lads, for that one?
The only slight issue I had with it, well, there was two. And they're only really slight issues. Watching it in real time, I said two things. I said Trippier needs to get to the ball quicker, stop the cross. He doesn't get close enough when the ball gets put into the box. I think it's a great flick on by Watkins. I don't think anyone could do anything about that. That was brilliant. But I thought Burn got dragged into the wrong player. He got pulled across with the wrong player. So by the time the ball falls to the person he should be marking, he's too far away to get there. But it's an outstanding finish on his weaker foot, and we know about him anyway, so not surprised. But they're the only two things that stood out for me: is Trippier not getting to the cross quick enough and Burn getting pulled away by the wrong player. But look, we're talking about little things here, but they ultimately make the difference. That, from my opinion, anyway.
I'm sure Eddie will dissect it and pinpoint theirs as well. But you can't take it gets better after that. But Chris, your thoughts? I think
it's worth pointing out as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when the ball comes in, it takes a deflection which lands nicely on Watkins' head, and then it goes. Watkins does a good flick, not knocking it at all. The only criticism I'd say, because as I say, when he crosses it, I'm sure it takes a deflection off someone's back, or the ball spins so that it goes more towards Watkins' head. So I kind of seen it as a little bit unlucky as well, unfortunate from Villa's point of view, although they improvised very well. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of felt Joe Linton was a little bit in no man's land because he's in the centre as the ball comes in, and he's not picking anyone up. And I thought, spare man there, you could have picked him up, would have, should have. But I think the fact that the ball took a slight deflection probably changed the direction of the ball completely in terms of where it would have ended up. But then, fortunately, it lands on Watkins' head, who directs it very, very well. And as Pete said, Diaby, great finish.
Cool. Let's move on, because 5 minutes later, on the 15 minutes, we had another goal.
That is me mum.
Anybody know Chris?
Yeah, me mum.
Hey, Chris's mum.
Hey, Chris, mum.
Yeah. Welcome to Load It.
Make sure you subbed.
I know. I hope she has it. Oh, well, she's writing comments, so she must have subbed, mustn't she? Does.
Yeah. She's subbed up there.
She's subbed. She's done the right thing.
Love it. Love it.
Right. Let's go on to the Isak goal. So here it is. That's throwing me now. Throwing me off guard. Right, right. Trips free kick. Takes a short one to Tonali. Ball in from Tonali, in a Botman slides across, connects with it. It goes across the goal, and Isak finishes. VAR do a check as well, but everything is good. The goal stands 2-1 Newcastle. Chris, we'll go to you first on that one. What do you think of Isak's first goal?
I thought Isak being right place, right time. You know, he's a poacher. You know, when you watch it back, initially he looks offside, but then obviously there's another transition in play, and he's onside, so his time just run well. But the ball from Tonali, and then Botman to stretch, and then hook the ball back across the front of goal, and then Isak's just there ready. In fairness, I think it probably would have been a perfect goal for someone like Callum Wilson as well. I think Callum Wilson would have been no doubt in roughly the similar position. But yeah, I thought Tonali's ball was just brilliant. Like, ball into the far side, Botman anticipates it, and don't underestimate as well the cut back in from Botman, because he's really stretching, and then to direct it so straight back across goal, he did really well. So yeah. Really, really impressed with this goal.
Hang on, I'm just thinking, is Chris's mum going to be a fan favourite and loaded, just like Bruno's dad? Because that's what it looks like could happen in the chat.
Who knows?
Could happen.
Who knows?
Could happen. Pete, your thoughts on Isak's first goal?
Well, my thoughts on Chris's mum is she needs to have a word with Klopp, because we're not very happy with him at the moment. So that's the one thing she needs to do on our behalf, is tell Klopp to sort himself out. In terms of the goal, lovely, well worked move, clearly something that they practiced. I think we've already touched on it. I was going through the comments, so I apologise. The delivery from Tonali is pinpoint. It's pinpoint. Like, it's really interesting. I don't know if did you guys see the little short with Trippier in the build up to the new season? He was talking about who he thinks the top goal scorer is.
Set pieces.
Yeah. He said himself on like 90% of it. But what was really interesting on set pieces, he said him and Sandro.
Ian Sandro.
It's clearly something that they've worked on. Yeah. And we know that, having watched him and seen the clips and all the kind of his best bits, if you've been on YouTube and the rest of it, he's brilliant at set pieces. He knows in his pinpoint, in his delivery. And so that going in there, brilliant from Botman to get across, and he's a natural born finisher. Great goal at a great time from a great player who's a great age.
So hang on, Pete. You can't just say that, because you just point anymore. Point, Pete.
He's a great age.
He sure is, Eddie. You're on it. You're on it, Eddie. You're on the money. Wait, that's Amanda and Eddie that watch loaded.
Who next? Mad Dog. Mad Dog's the next one. He won't be long before.
Top level.
Definitely. But look, what can we not say about that goal that's not fantastic? Brilliant goal. Absolutely buzzing. Like, again, I'll reiterate, the time in which we scored was crucial. We hit straight back with them again once they equalised, and I think that took the stuffing out of them. The other thing I was going to add, and I don't know if you're going to bring this up, Daz, as a point. If you were, I do apologise. But I did want to mention this, and Geordie Toon for Life has already mentioned it. So I'll put what Geordie Toon for Life said on the chat. So I really felt for Mings. As much as I don't rate him, I don't like seeing players in real pain, no matter who they are now. Like, you guys know, and the Villa boys know, Rich and Billy, I've always had my kind of issues with Mings as a player. But that was really hard to watch as an opposition fan, to see him in so much pain. It was clearly something very, very serious. Now, he's already had problems with his ACL before when he was at Bournemouth, and I hope it's not the same one, because if it is, that's twice now, and that could be potentially a career ender, depending on how bad it is. So, obviously, hopefully, a speedy recovery. The fans in the stadium were outstanding, clapping him off and really showing respect. And no matter what the rivalry is, I just wanted to kind of reiterate that point, that obviously it really wasn't a nice moment to go through. And lots of our players, Isak and Trippier and whatever, to check and make sure that he was okay. So fair play, but no one at fault. It was an accident. These things happen, but not nice to see. So fair play, Jordan 2 for life, for bringing that up as a conversation, because it's important.
And that's exactly where I was going there, Pete.
Sorry,
but yeah, no, we've covered it now, and it's just, I suppose, if we pick up from there, then the game was a lot quieter then for the next 10 minutes or so, and then of course it dragged on because all that time until we got to halftime. But it was actually there's one other big talk about right before halftime, and it's Martinez, where Martinez comes outside the area and he cleans Miggy, and he gets a yellow card for it. But I'll ask the question, why was that not a red? Should have been.
I'm still. I don't know. Sorry, Pete. I've just jumped in there, haven't I?
No, go for it.
I don't know what Pete's thoughts are on it, and I get the whole rule. I understand that, and like maybe if it wasn't us, maybe I wouldn't feel so passionately about it. But even when I still watch it, the big problem for me is there's no intention whatsoever to play that ball, whatsoever. So I think the benefit of the doubt has to not be given to him, because it's cynical. And, people say, oh, there was a defender there, but there's nobody. That defender can't use his arms in the box. So for me, I don't know, just because it was so cynical. And then after it, like, I do quite like Emi Martinez, because I know people hate him, but I like the way he's a bit of a wind up, a bit of a shithouse. Sorry, Mum. I like the way that he pushes boundaries, but I like that in players. Yeah, I like that in players. And then I see it after it, when he done it to Miggy, and he was like, and I thought, you wind up. Like he was doing it on purpose, like giving him the thumbs up and smiling at him. But I think he got away with one. I understand why it's a yellow, but it doesn't make me like it anymore, because there was no intention whatsoever to go for the ball. So you can call it clever, you can call it canny, you can call it whatever you want. But I think as a referee, I think, yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's using the rule book to your advantage. And, if he tried to get the ball and he didn't get it, you might go, oh, there's a man there. He had no intention of going for the ball, no intention whatsoever. And that's why I think it should have been red.
You're not going to defend him, Pete?
And I'm in full agreement with Chris. Yeah, it might be slightly wider, but it goes back to the Pope against Liverpool situation. He was still pushing him out wide, so Salah was still going out wide with the ball. He would have had more of an open goal to shoot at had he got the ball under control. But we also had two players getting back, and there was no guarantee that he was going to put the ball into the net. He got a red card for that. So for me, Martinez, who blatantly was trying to stop him and pulling him back. Miggy, as quick as he is, if he'd have not been pulled back, would have been able to cut inside, because there was no defender around him, and have a clear shot on goal. And if it's anywhere either side of, I think it might have been Pau Torres at the time or somebody else, at that point, he's either handling it. Yeah, he's either handling it, or it's 3-1. It's as simple as that. Like, so I was frustrated with it. I knew they were going to give a yellow card. I knew it. They weren't going to make that sort of decision on the first game of the season. But I'm in full agreement with Chris. I think it was a poor decision. I really do.
And as well as costing Newcastle a potential goal, it cost Miggy points in my fantasy football team. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't best happy with that one. Right, we got to halftime. 2-1 up, and look at Bruno there. What better hype man could you ever hope to have in your team? Love him, and that stupid haircut, Bruno. But yeah, love it. Right, let's move on into the second half, and on to the 57th minute. We have another goal. Isaac with another goal, and I'm going to talk you through this one because, and I've got pictures of this one. This one's class. Right. Miss hit from Conta, and then Isaac gets the ball, and he takes a nice little dink right over the keeper and right over Pau as well. Back of the net. Cue the celebration from Isaac. I love that face he does when he scores. It's class. And also, then I'm automatically, he gets another pup. So it's the first pup of the season, which I love to see as well. But what a goal! I know I was showing this goal to my little boy. He was like, he said, he couldn't believe it. It was some goal, some finish from Isaac. Only he can do that. And as who said, I can't remember who said it. It's such it was Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, I think. Such an instinctive thing to do from Isaac. And he doesn't think about that. He just done, and then he seems to even shock himself. But he's so class, and I'm glad I picked him for my potential Premier League player of the season on that performance. But lads, Pete, we go to you. Your thoughts on Isaac's second goal to take us 3-1 up?
Quite simply, just world class. It's a world class finish from a player that is soon and rapidly becoming a world class striker. Not quite there yet, but I genuinely believe that there will not be long until he's been talked about as a genuine world class striker. We've talked on this channel before. He has everything. He's the complete striker. And only, you know what, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank said it absolutely right on Saturday. You can't teach that. You cannot teach that quality, that ability to score a goal like that. It can't be taught. That is a natural talent. And to go with all of his great abilities and what he's got, his pace, you know, he's clearly bulked up because his power and his strength holding off the ball. And then to be able to produce those moments of magic. He's beat 3 players there. He's sat down a World Cup winning goalkeeper. He's beat Konza, and then he's lobbed the ball over Pau Torres to put that ball into the net. That is not easy. There are so many variables that could have gone wrong and stopped that ball from going into the net. He made that happen. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's probably anyone else in the pitch in an attacking situation like that would have scored that type of goal. That's as much kind of praise that I can give to him. It's just world class. Unreal.
Chris, what a goal.
It was funny. I was waiting. I was thinking, is he going to come to me or Pete first? And I was literally, Pete just took the words out my mouth. Like, it was a world class moment. That's simply what it was. I literally, like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I literally screamed the house down because I was like, no, I was messaging my mates, and they always go, particularly the Everton ones, like, oh, yeah, he got fortunate there, didn't he? Got fortunate there because Conce tried the little ball roll, forgot to take the ball with the ball roll, which was unfortunate from Conce. But it's that split second where Isaac makes the decision to do the chip, and I said, no other striker in the Premier League for me would have done that. I genuinely don't think they would. And I said, at this present moment, Isaac is the second best striker in the league. That's just how it is. Because if you're picking a team, everyone's going to pick Haaland. But your second choice, in my opinion, at this moment, is Isaac. And I don't even think Haaland would have scored that. Just, you know, it was the cuteness of it. I think that's what the commentator said as well. It was the cuteness of the chip. He didn't hammer it. He didn't, take a touch and then go wide and then smash it. He literally he saw the moment and he thought, right, keepers out, think. And it's that instinctiveness. And Pete's right, what Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank said, it's exactly right. And the confidence he's showing. But we've seen this at the back end of last season. We saw the goal at Goodison. I was there for it, seeing the goal at Goodison, where he set it up for Murphy. And it's just little moments like that. And there's not many other strikers who can do that. I've spent the afternoon watching Darwin Núñez. Darwin Núñez wouldn't have scored that. Darwin Núñez, I think Liverpool fans now are starting to look at us and going, might have picked the wrong guy here. Because 63 million for Alexander Isak. If we were to sell Alexander Isak now, we wouldn't even entertain offers less than 100 mil. No way. No,
especially with the prices that have been quoted in the last couple of days for players.
Yeah. And what? He's 23? That's another excuse?
Yeah, another excuse. Hang on.
He's a great age.
It's a fact.
He is some age. He's
a great age.
What was I going to say? Yes, Adam. Yes, Eddie Howe does watch Loaded Mag in UFC, and you know who else watches it? It's a man in the chat that has decided to give us a super chat.
Super chat received.
Oh, over to you, Pete.
Yeah, we've got it. So massive thanks to Our very own Jimmy Moore.
Jimmy.
Thank you for your
Jimmy.
$4.99 and says, hello, everyone. Can't believe they referred to the Liverpool-Chelsea match as a top 6 battle. The network overhyping the cartel clubs is sickening. I'm inclined to agree with you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Watching that performance today, I don't know whether you boys watched it. I thought we'd smash these, both of them. I can't wait. I'm going out with my mates on the 27th, and I can't wait. I'm literally because last season I was dead confident, and then we had the 2 goals which kind of came out of nowhere, and then Nick Pope's coming out like clean and Trippier out, getting sent off, and I was like, this time we're getting you. This time you are going to get it, and I'm feeling really confident.
Hey, and if you wanted to argue with Jimmy, you couldn't, because you would have no hope of winning. Jimmy would bury you. Right, let's move on. Let's go to 76 minutes, and on this time to the Wilson goal. Tonali released Barnes. Barnes ran down the wing, squared it inside to Wilson, and Wilson applied the finish. VAR did a check, and the goal stood. So that is our 4th goal, 4-1 at this stage. And Mr. Callum Wilson who came off the bench along with Barnes and gets on the mark. So yes, the battle is on between Isak and Wilson. And it'll be interesting to watch that battle as who's going to be top goal scorer. So, but Chris, I will come to you first for this one. Your thoughts on Wilson's goal?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the one where Tonali hits it cross field, but like bends it? Was it that moment?
No, that was.
Or was that
and Murphy?
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting mixed up. No, this is the one, isn't it? Where Murphy is that the one where Murphy dinks it past the central midfield and runs round him and then gives it to Barnes, and then Barnes runs down and then cuts it back to Wilson. Is that right?
I believe. The Murphy plays through to Harvey Barnes for Harvey Barnes' goal. I think you might be right with regards to the Tonali over the top. Someone will confirm in the chat.
Yeah, confirm it in the chat for me.
Over to Harvey Barnes and then he's in on goal, and then he squares it to Wilson.
It was just a really nice team goal. That was probably the goal that when obviously it confirmed the 3 points, didn't it? I know it was 3-1 at that point, but it just kind of sealed it. But it was so nice, wasn't it, to kind of, see our front three change. So we went from Gordon, Isak, and Miggy to then Barnes, Wilson, and Murphy. And then we go and do that. A fantastic team goal. And I was made up for Wilson. It was funny, actually. I don't know whether you picked up on this, but Wilson didn't look overjoyed. And I thought, is he annoyed because he was thinking, I should be starting this. I should be the main guy. Because every time Wilson comes on, he does the business, and I do feel for him in that respect. But a great team goal from a few players, and really, really, really good goal. And funnily enough, when it went to VAR, I was convinced. I didn't have any doubt that it was onside. But yeah, good goal. Really, really enjoyed it.
I had my doubts there on that one first that it was going to be ruled out because he didn't overly celebrate either. I think that's kind of led me to think that okay, maybe this is going to be off here. But yeah, should say as well, hit that like button as well. Never set a target at the start, so let's give you guys a target: 500 likes. First win of the season. You have to.
Got to.
500 likes. 227 people in the chat at the moment watching. So yes, hit that like button, and the rest of you, when you're watching them playback, hit that like button as well. Pete, your thoughts on Wilson's goal?
Superb finish, not easy. I was pulling my hair out. I'm not going to lie. With Harvey Barnes, he had a couple of opportunities where I just want him when he's in on goal and he's coming in on that left hand side. I just want Harvey Barnes to shoot because he's capable of scoring, and I think he'd already had a couple of chances already on that left hand side. But it was a really well timed pass, and it's not actually an easy finish because it's kind of coming away from his body, because where he guides it into the corner is away from his body, and you can sometimes really easily mess them up. But it was seamless, and Martinez had no chance whatsoever. but you can see, and I think I can't remember who mentioned it. But you could see, last season when Wilson was coming off the bench and he was angry, looked angry. He looked so like genuinely beat off and just determined to just score. He had that kind of mentality when he came on. He clearly wasn't happy, and I wouldn't expect him to be. But he was gunning for them big time, and it was a really kind of ruthless finish. Loved it, because this is what Wilson's all about. Perfect timing.
Cool. Let's move on, and we'll go to the 90th match. And Chris, you better get ready here, because I'm going to ask you to do the celebration in a second. But we had Barnes' goal. We had a Murphy with a beautiful ball through about 3 Villa defenders. Barnes one-on-one with the keeper, and he slots it home. So, Chris, over to you for the celebration.
By the way,
Did
you see the guy in the crowd doing it? Did you
Yeah,
see the
yeah,
slow-mo
yeah.
of it? It was so good. He times it to perfection, then just goes, brilliant.
Right back
Brilliant.
at you.
I love that
it.
celebration. Absolutely love that celebration. Do you know what? I was made up for Harvey Barnes there, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I say this all the time. Earlier, there was a moment where Barnes was very, very unselfish, and he squared it to Wilson. And I was screaming at the telly going, take it yourself. And I'm sure it was before he ended up scoring, because Barnes should have just got a shot off. Barnes should have just took it himself, but he gave it to Wilson, and then I think it was Konza who got in the way.
Was that not the one right before that where Wilson scored that we're just after talking about?
I thought it was in between the 4th and the 5th.
Oh, it could have been.
There was an identical one. Chris is right. There was an identical one where he runs for on goal, and you're thinking, shoot, goes for goal, and he lays it to Wilson, and Martinez makes an unbelievable save, and it's like, to be fair,
yes, that was an 18th minute that happened. Yeah, that was a good one as well.
Yeah, but then he goes and makes up for it, and it was great for him to get his goal as well. Really good finish. I think Martinez got a touch on it actually, but he wasn't going to stop it. He wasn't going to stop it because he put loads of power behind it.
So Stephen's going to give away free membership if we get to. I imagine we've already gone to that point now, so I don't know if we've achieved it. I don't know whether that's still on, because I am slightly behind by a few minutes. But did we achieve it? Are we at 100? Not quite sure. Can we open that up and maybe try it again? If it doesn't, let's get us up to over
104.
104.
104.
We'll have made it then.
Keep going higher.
105.
It's like us. We're delighted with 5-1. We could have even got more than 5-1, but 5-1 was the final score. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. 5-1, we will take opening game of the season, and Eddie was a happy man as well. Who with Tonali there, the player he fell in love with as he watched him play there last season. Class hug there between Sandro and Eddie, and there, of course, there's going to be a picture as well, the team shot. Here we are. We're back again to kick us off for the season. There's a team photo. Everyone there, all absolutely delighted. Class. Love it. Brilliant. So that is a quick run through the game, lads. I think we'll rapidly go into our ratings, and we're going to keep this really snappy this year. So we're going to all say it together what our ratings are for each player, and we'll move on straight away. Right. First up, Pope, 7 for me.
Sorry, I just get lost in the land of Pope. I'm going to go 8. Made some distributed well, a couple of good decisions. 8.
Chris,
I'll go with you, Daz. I'll say 7. I've no complaints over Pope's display, so yeah, 7.
And of course, it was Nick Pope Day as well. Actually,
it was Nick Pope Day, wasn't it? Yeah, of course, yeah.
Well, no. Yeah. Right, we'll move on. We'll go to trivia. I'm giving trivia an 8.
Yeah, trips. I'll give an 8. I thought it was very good.
Same.
Okay. Shar, I'm giving a 7. Same as Popey.
Shaw, I'll give an 8. I thought it was equally very good. Considering his injury concerns, I thought he was brilliant.
About to say the same thing. The fact that he's come back and he's not. I know he's been training all week, but he came back, slotted back in, and I thought he did. I thought he did well. So yeah, I'll give Sean an 8.
You missed a trick there, Chris. Right, move on to Botman. Of course, Botman got an assist. I thought he was probably the best in our backline yesterday. I'm going to give him, because I'm not going to do the 0.5s this year, I'm going to go give him an 8.
Hold on, that's breaking news. No 0.5.
Yeah, no, I got sick of the 0.5s.
I thought Botman was outstanding yesterday. I'm gonna stick with the 0.5s. I'm gonna give him a 9.5 because I thought he was outstanding. His distribution, his leadership, dealt with Watkins so well. Superb performance. Long may it continue.
I'm just going to very quickly. It's horrible. I'm catching up on the chat, and loads of people are talking to me, mum, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And talking about Avon discounts and everything. And I'm like, "Oh my god, what's everyone saying to me, mum? Mum, tell everyone I don't work for Avon. Can you tell everyone that, please?" Going back to the subject, yeah, Botman 9, because he did so well with that assist and just solid as usual. Thought he was brilliant, so I'll stick to 9.
I actually marked down all my defense before the start of the show. I had them all up at the same rating you're giving them, but I marked them all down 1. But anyway, I'll move on. Burn, I given Burn a 7.
Burn, I'll give 7.5. Other than the goal that they scored, I thought he did really well.
Yeah, I'd say 7. I think. But yeah, it would be harsh, I think, to mark him on par with others because I don't think he was quite there. But he did, I'm not knocking him. I thought he has a decent game, as Pete said, maybe bar the goal. But yeah, I'll stick 7.
And that brings us to our defense to a conclusion. Let's go. We have a super chat. So
Super chat received.
Ooh, we certainly do. And thank you to Frederick. Oh. Yep, yeah, it is. How high do you rate Alexander Isak? The pundits on Swedish TV said he is so underrated here in Sweden. How do you think he can be? Or how good do you think he can be? Firstly, welcome all the way from Sweden.
Thank you, Patrick.
Watching the channel. But boys, questions out there. Alexander Isak.
Gimme a striker from Sweden. Okay, I'll stop singing. I think I love Alexander Isak. I think he's going to. I think this season he's going to be my favorite player, or ahead of Bruno. Bruno is my favorite player, but I think Isak's going to surpass him. I think he can go to the top. I would agree what Chris said earlier. Holland is number 1 in the Premier League, but I think Isak is going to cement his name there in place as number 2. And in our prediction show, I said I think he could potentially be the Premier League player of the season. Not only our player of the season, but the Premier League player of the season. Yeah. So if the Premier League is the best league in the world, yeah, there's your answer, Frederick.
Yeah. If Rasmus Højlund goes to Man United for what 80-odd million euros, how much is Alexander Isak now? Jesus Christ. How much would be in the market? He's not going anywhere, by the way. It wouldn't surprise me if he signs a new contract, which is well deserved if he gets 10 plus goals this season. World class. He's on his way.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to our ratings. Next up is Bruno. He worked well with Tonali and J7, of course. But I'm going to give him a 7 for Bruno. Again, he's one that I marked down just before the show.
I thought Bruno was unbelievable. I'd give him a 9. I did. Thought it was outstanding. That was one of the best performances he's put in a black and white shirt, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I really do. That's the happiest I've seen him play on the football pitch for a long time. And obviously, we're trying to keep the snappy and stuff, but there's a reason behind it. And I think Sandro Tonali is the reason. They have a telepathy understanding already, which has surprised me. And he plays with so much joy and understanding. The one-touch football that they play with each other, Bruno and Sandro, is just, it's of an elite level. It's an elite level midfield pairing. Joe Linton's the security guard. He goes and just kind of shops and puts out fires. But those two have got a footballing understanding. As a footballer, they are on an elite level. And that's the happiest I've seen Bruno Guimaraes play for Newcastle for a long time. And he, as an attacking threat, was so good. And actually, a lot of the sweeping was done by Tonali in the game, not Bruno. And that's where he doesn't want to be. Back there, he wants to be further forward. Sandro allowed him to do that.
Chris.
So I'm bang in the middle of years. I thought Bruno was an 8. He was probably, it sounds very honest with you, I'm saying this, I think he was probably the worst of the 3 for me. I agree with you, Pete, when you say he looked a lot happier than what he's been in recent times, because I'll be honest, at the back end of last season, he didn't, well, we all thought it was maybe an ankle injury or, something wasn't quite right. Maybe he's in the number 6. I don't know. And I agree, he looked far more comfortable than what he has done in, times gone by. But I still think there's more. And I think, not that he played bad, because I'm giving him an 8. I thought he was good, but I've gone higher with the other 2. But yeah, no, obviously, he had a good game. I'm not knocking him. But it was nice. You're right. It was nice to see the smile back on his face. And Daz had the picture up before, with the celebrations, and he's so passionate, isn't he? And he's constantly geeing the crowd up, and I do love that about Bruno. So yeah, 8 for me.
And it is great to see that they've got the chemistry there already, as you alluded to, Pete, with Tonali and Bruno. So yep, yeah. Cool. Let's move on. Next up is Tonali himself, and I'm giving Tonali 10. Goal in his debut, that cross in, or that the ball into the bottom man, his passing was excellent on the day, and his strength as well. What a debut. So looking forward to seeing what else he can do throughout the season. But a 10 for me for Tonali.
Yeah, I agree. 10 for me. Interesting to see a lot of the journos that were talking down Sandro Tonali quite quickly changed their tune on him after the game. You know who I'm referring to.
Hey, Jamie, read that.
With regards to that, but Sandro Tonali put on an absolute masterclass performance. All that talk of Sandro Tonali in the summer series against Villa and all the rest of it, that's just been put to bed. It's not even a conversation anymore. He absolutely destroyed and dismantled Aston Villa's midfield on his own at times. Can't wait to see more. 10 for me, man of the match.
Man of the match for me as well, actually. But 10 for Chris as well.
Man of the match all day. He surprised me. I don't need to really expand on more than what you boys have said, but he surprised me how ready he was. Not doubting his ability, because I think we all know he's got the ability, and in time, I think I said it to someone in the chat, in time, I think we've got a hell of a player on our hands. But he looked like he'd been playing in the Premier League for like 2, 3, 4 seasons. He was brilliant, and the fact that we were so dominant over Villa in the centre of the park, it shows me as well that we learnt our lessons. Because we saw what happened last season at Villa Park with the 3-0, and tactically, I thought Eddie Howe set us up brilliantly at the weekend. So yeah, Tonali, 10 out of 10, man of the match.
Nice. Let's move on. J7. I've given J7 an 8.
J7, yeah, I will go. I've got 8.5, slightly higher. But I thought it was brilliant. Put out so many fires, links to play. Their midfield were genuinely scared of him. Like no one can break him. No one can break him, and I love it. there is a fear factor with Joe Linton there that defenders and midfielders don't want none of it. I love it, absolutely love it. 8.5.
Yeah, I went 9 for Joe Linton. I just thought he was brilliant, and I think now, obviously, when Peter's talking, then I think now he's my favourite player. I just love him. I just think he's so good, and you're right. He does all the dirty work, and he bullies people, and he gets the ball, gives it, but he's so powerful. When he's on the ball, no one's getting the ball off him, and he travels with it. Do you know what I mean? And he compliments now. Now we've got Bruno Antonelli. He compliments him so well because he just gets on with it, and he's shouting, he's screaming, he's whinging, he's moaning, and he's just full of energy. He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, Joe Linton.
Did he get a yellow card yesterday?
Yeah,
I don't think he did. Oh, did he?
Yeah,
I know Bruno did, but yeah, okay. Stupid question, really.
He loves it. Yeah, yeah. I think he did. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure he did. Because I was laughing about it. Pretty sure he did.
Okay, while Chris is checking that, we're moving on to Miggy. I think Miggy had a poor first half. He had a better second half, but I'm giving Miggy a 7.
Miggy.
Oh, no, he didn't. He didn't. He didn't. I thought he did. Sorry, Pete. I'm cutting you up there.
No.
I'm thinking of Tonali. Tonali got one at the end. I thought it was
yeah.
And
Bruno got one for the imaginary card.
He's maturing, lads. He's maturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
game, no cards.
Yeah.
I know.
The City next week. It'll be a battering ram and end up with one for sure. But Miggy was a little bit quieter, but his running and his pressing is infectious. I just love it. Obviously, created that moment with Martinez that we talked about as well. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think this is something we might need to get used to, and the reason why I say it is because all of our good football went down the right-hand side last season. But if you notice, all of our good football yesterday went down the left. Yeah. And there will be a balance there over the course of the season. But I think it's quite telling now that the left-hand side is being trusted a hell of a lot more in attacking plays than the other. So maybe trust is not the right word, but we were getting a lot more joy there. So I'll give him an 8. Good, played well, but yeah, that's it. Just okay.
Yeah, no, really, really good point you made there, Pete. About all the attacking going on the left, because you're right. Everything, and maybe that's part of our unpredictability this year. In that, we need to try and mix things up. And our left-hand side now is looking so stronger. So yeah, I think I think 8's fair for Miggy.
Yes. What are we celebrating?
The likes. I think that's the membership.
We've got 500 likes already.
Well, no, I think because Stephen's going to gift, I think memberships out.
Cheers,
I think we hit our target. So thank you, Stephen, and obviously Lisa for pushing that and allowing that to happen. Thank you both. Sorry, lads, carry on.
No. Yeah, so I agree with 8 for Miggy. And again, to refer back, Pete, to that Kieran Trippier interview, he said, didn't he? Which Newcastle player would be the one that you'd pick in your team? And he pointed out Miggy, didn't he? And said for his work rate. And in this Eddie Howe team, I think that's maybe why he may keep hold of Miggy, just because his work rate is undeniable. We say that all the time, don't we? But yeah, I think Miggy. Yeah, I think Miggy's an 8 for yesterday. Not nothing outstanding, but as per usual, always gives 110, and did cause some problems for Villa.
Miggy's an 8.
Is Daz there? Oh, he might be back.
Nope,
just while
I'm back. Can you see me?
He's back.
You're back.
Yeah, I can see you. You went just for a second. Just a quick one. Thank you, Stephen, for gifting the memberships. Brilliant stuff. Thank you for all your support with those memberships. Sorry, Daz.
Yeah, sorry. It's something kicked off here, and I think it's throwing my internet off a small bit, so I should start to pick up again in a second. Am I back?
Should we go? Do you want to go to Pete? Do you want to go to Gordon, Pete?
Yeah. I'll talk about Gordon. Daz, you can sort the internet. I think you're about 3-4 seconds behind, just on your responses. But Anthony Gordon, I thought he was brilliant. I really, really did. The only thing he missed was a goal, but he created so much anyway. He really kind of ran their right hand side into the ground. Matty Cash, he had a tough day yesterday. I would normally feel sorry for a player in that situation, but it didn't. But Anthony Gordon gave him the right run around, and Leon Bailey. Wow, there's a drop off there. The Villa fans are right. I rated him massively, but he got the run around on their right hand side. Bailey and Matty Cash. Gordon was the reason for it. But you know what? Wasn't just his attacking ability; it was his defensive ability as well. Someone put in the chat. I'll put it up in a second when Chris, when you're talking about it. But there was a moment where I watched the first half and thought, "Wow, that was just quality." But yeah, for me, I would say, 8.5. I thought it was very, very good. Very good.
Chris, Anthony Gordon.
You bang up to speed now. By the way, Daz. I marked Gordon at 9. I thought he was brilliant. I just wish he got a goal. Everyone else was getting in on the goals, and I felt for Anthony Gordon, but obviously he got the fantastic assist, didn't he? For the first goal. So, really, really happy with Anthony Gordon's performance. I just hope he can keep it up. And isn't it nice that he's got Harvey Barnes breathing down his neck, just to make sure that he keeps that level of performance up. Not that I would have doubted that, but if you know you've got someone on, if you've got someone behind you who then comes on and plays particularly well, Harvey Barnes ended up getting an assist and a goal. So Gordon knows he's got to keep his standards up high. But this is what healthy competition brings, isn't it? This is what makes a competitive squad. So brilliant. You are a top rep favourite. Oh, here we go. Marv, what are you doing?
Selling him out. I love it.
Lynn, we knew it. Now it's confirmed. Hey, can't mess around. You can't mess around with Mum, Chris.
You wait till I ring you when I've finished this show.
Mother's Day is going to be interesting this year.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. I'll get you the best selection I can from Avon.
For me and Gordon, he's getting a 9. I thought he was class, and as you were alluding to, he drawed so many fouls in him, and they couldn't control him at all. But yeah, class performance from Gordon. Right, we'll move on to Alexander Isak. 2 goals. If Tonali wasn't on the pitch, he would have been my man of the match. But no, Tonali gets that. He's getting a 10 from me though. Isak, I thought he was unbelievable. He was unlucky not to get a hat trick as well. At one stage as well, I can't remember when he was through on goal and the keeper saved it. But 10 for Isak for me.
Isak, yeah. I think he was unlucky not to get man of the match for me. I think Sandro Tonali was just so good, but yeah, I'll give him a 10. I'm so excited to see what we're gonna get from Isak this season. But I'll leave it there. 10, 2 goals, awesome.
Love it.
Chris, I'm happy with that. 10, 2 goals, awesome. That's it. Brilliant.
Quality, mate.
Okay, that's our ratings. And a goal for Tonali and Barnes on their debuts, unbelievable. But I just want to give a shout out as well to some of our winners from the members draw in the last little while, because we've got some pictures. To Carl and Max, who picked up the new kit, the new third kit there, and there is Max celebrating in the pub in Shearer's Bar after the game, and he had to drag him home. There was no way he was coming home. He loved it. So nice one, Max, and also to Lee Errington as well, and his son Luke, who were at the match, and
Yes,
Lee is wearing the kit that he got as well from the members draw. So nice one, Lee. And I think it was Luke. I think am I right? They put in the tweet. So nice one,
yeah.
lads. Yeah, nice one. And on to the next one. Hopefully, the next home game is another victory for us. But of course, there's another away game coming up on next Saturday, 8 o'clock. I have a question for you, lads. Before we get to the league table, I have a question for you, right? This is what we kind of were thinking about earlier. And here it's actually, we could probably class it as one of these.
That's a loaded question, isn't it?
Right. So we said at the start, Chris, you made the point. Oh, this is our best 11, right?
Yes.
What if for the City game, Eddie drops Miggy and puts Gordon on the right and Barnes on the left? Would you consider that as an option?
Honestly, I would be shocked if we don't see that at some point this season. I genuinely think that will happen at some point this season. I'm not saying it'll be the go-to, but I think we'll have games where we'll play with those two. Because I think if both players continue to play as well as they are, I don't think it's going to be too hard to keep them out of the team. But it reminds me a little bit of the Wilson Isak situation last season, where they started to play Isak on the left and they played Wilson up top. Is that they couldn't afford to not have them both starting, and I think we're going to get that at some point. But those boys have got to keep up the work. They're proving it. They've got themselves in a position now where Harvey Barnes is scoring and assisting. Gordon is doing everything, assisting, just not getting the goals, but that will come. They just need to keep doing it. But then again, Miggy's got to step it up. He's got to get those goals that he did last season. So there's pressure on all of them, but it's good pressure. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that at some point in the season.
Chris?
Very, very good question, Daz. And you could argue that you are right. That could be the best 11. The only thing for me is, and this surprised me at pre-season, like Anthony Gordon kept getting put on that left-hand side, and we've yet to see him in a Newcastle shirt on the right-hand side. So that would be my only question mark. Unless Eddie's keeping his, keeping a card up his sleeve or something like that, and he's going to just all of a sudden switch it, or we see the switch mid-game. I don't know, but I don't know. I think Pete's right in that it's definitely there. It's an option, but this is the beauty, isn't it, of the players that we've brought in. We've brought in players who feasibly can play anywhere across the three. We've seen it with Isak. We've seen it with Gordon. We hardly ever see Miggy on the left. And when Miggy played for Paraguay, when he scored the goal for Paraguay, when he last played in the international, he seemingly was more towards the left, and obviously he's left-footed. So yeah. I wouldn't rule it out, but I think right now, I think the 11 that he started with against Villa, I would be very, very, very surprised not to see that 11 against City, and probably for the next few games, all barring injury, suspension, stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. Definitely not.
Okay, cool. No, that's fine, guys. Cheers to that. I want to just show up the table as well, because we're top. Really, that's the only reason. There's no point showing it at this early in the season. But look where we are, top of the league, with a nice green tick beside it, and long may that continue on over the next, especially the next couple of games coming up. But it's sitting pretty top of the league. It doesn't really matter at this stage, but it matters. Villa, bottom of the league, that matters. Anything you want to say about the league table, lads?
No, let's just end the season now. Pick up the trophy. End the season now. Pick up the trophy. Champions League football. Let's do it. Why not?
Cool. I'll stop sharing that then. Chris, anything you want to say about the league table?
Love it. No, just keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah. Pete, we'll go to the chat and see what's there in terms of questions or points.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think, Chris, you mentioned a chat. we're on 8:31 at this point, and there isn't anything in the chat at that point. So I'm not sure if it's down or something's happened. No idea. So if someone wants to drop something in the chat, just let us know.
Yeah, no comments for 6 minutes, which is very unusual. I thought it might have been just my end, but
it's been constant. But to be fair, it might well be something. We had this a while ago, didn't we? Where the chat went down and everyone thought the show was finished, but we've still got 270.
It's still going on the internet, on YouTube, but it's just that we're not getting them coming through on. So apologies for that.
So
it's probably, I was going to say it's probably not a good thing, but it's probably okay because we normally do the question section anyway, don't we? But for everyone listening, we're not ignoring you. It's just the fact that we can't see any comments.
Well, just one thing, because we won't get that, is Dave Bullman has become a member. So thanks, Dave, for becoming a member. If our comments get updated, we'll give you a shout out again. But cheers to that, Dave. But carry on, Pete. Go for the questions.
No problem at all. We have, there's some questions, there's some comments. I'll go to some of the questions. GK, a question for everyone. Did it seem like Miggy was making some runs slightly more central to the pitch as opposed to last year? Perhaps it was in response to Villa's tactics, but I noticed it. Did you boys notice anything like that in the game, like GK?
I didn't notice
so much. I can't say I did, but GK, I'm going to keep a lookout for that at the City game. None more so than usual, I would say. I mean, obviously, we know that Kieran Trippier likes to overlap, and that automatically draws Miggy in a little bit. But no, I didn't see that. But GK, you could be onto something. So, one to look out for at the City game.
Yeah, you can understand if it was something else they're trying, because like last season you could close your eyes and you knew it was happening. Trippier, Miggy, Trippier, cool.
Great stuff, GK. Great question. Stu, welcome, Stu. Great to have you in the chat as always. How good was the bench yesterday, man? Fills me with so much more confidence, and he also adds, and still willing to come back too. Who wasn't even in the squad because he's still, I think, 3 or 4 weeks away with his injury. But yeah, just your comments and thoughts about the squad and the strength of it going into the season, boys.
Yeah, no, it is a hell of a lot stronger than last season, and there's at least one more to come. Eddie has said that now twice, that he wants one more to bring in one more. So strength and depth, and even if you look at the reserve team, that's I don't think they're still called the reserve team, but the reserve team, you had Lewis Miley and Alex Murphy playing in that, and a number of more, Dylan Stevens, who are in around the first team pitch as well. Like last year they would have been on our bench, so they can't even get on our bench at the moment. So a hell of a lot stronger. Shoot.
Chris?
Yeah, good to see, mate. Good to see. Eddie's spoken about strength and depth, and we need that for this season with the Champions League coming up. But no, great to see. And I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier on. The fact that we swapped our front three entirely and we still looked just as potent, for me, was really, really, really great. Daz mentioned a couple of names there, that weren't even involved. So it's exciting. And for me, I don't know what everyone else in the chat thinks, and we won't see it, but I'm on my phone, so don't worry, I am looking. Let me know how many, or let us know how many signings you think we're going to make, because Eddie says he wants one. I think that means we possibly get 2 or 3. I think there'll be one big one, but I do think we're gonna try and bring in 2 or 3, because I don't think it's just one we're gonna go for.
Has Eddie acknowledged Tino Livramento yet? Is he still playing it down, even though he was on the bench?
I love it. The bench is brilliant. We have developed this brand. The bench is going to be key to our successes this season.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And I think we touched on it earlier on when it was in the US about the two teams and the front three and the back four and who's going to start, who's not, it's very, very clear that there is a partnership brewing with Barnes and Wilson, but equally with Gordon and Isak, their connection. I think Miggy can play with both of those front two selections, but equally so can Murphy. So I think those partnerships are what you're probably going to see when rotation starts happening over the course of the season. But strength in depth is what's going to take us to the next level, and we proved it on Saturday. So great to see. I just wanted to add 270. It was in the chat. We've got over 150 likes already. Let's get us up to that 500 target. But as well as that, obviously, we announced that we had 6K the other day, which was a fantastic milestone. But we're going to the next stage, so get along with us. So if you're watching and you're not in the chat right now, just click subscribe and come and join us. Thanks for watching and showing your support always. And yeah, come and join us in the Loaded family and put a comment in the chat once you've subscribed and come and join everyone that's contributing to the show tonight.
And we'll see you sometime.
Yeah, and we'll catch up with it down the road. the comment. I think we've all got our phones on, just checking things and keep an eye on it. It does happen from time to time with YouTube. It is what it is. This one is from where was it? I think it's gone somewhere. This was just a comment from John. One of the best things about yesterday was that we didn't seem to get out of third gear, and that I think that's it bodes very well for the rest of the season. Does anyone agree with that? What do you think, boys?
Yeah, I guess we didn't need to. Once the third goal went in, 3-1 up. I think that we still had the intensity though. We still had the hunger to go and searching for more goals. So, and I think if we hadn't, Eddie would have had something to say about it as well. So, yeah, we probably have another level we can go to, and we'll have to use that in the next Saturday. But yeah, it's great to know that we have more in the tank, John, when we need it.
Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
Why do I do this every show? Sorry. No, I was just saying I completely agree with what Dad said. I think I know what you're saying, John, about us not getting. We didn't seem to get out of third gear, but I think what's pleasing is it's just because we're so well drilled. I think we look like we're just kind of going through the motions. But I agree with Daz. I think the intensity was there, the effort was there. Eddie, I wouldn't expect any less, but we could have done more, which is a bit scary. Like I didn't watch that game and think, oh my God, that's the best I've seen us play. I think we've played better, but we were fantastic. Yeah, you know, with the weekends, and I think that there's more levels to come. So no, I think you're spot on in saying that.
Cool.
Yeah, the chat can see it. I can see what whoever's just wrote that in the chat.
Yeah,
but we just can't see it on the screen.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway. StreamYard.
Yeah. Typical. Here to there was put, cheers, gents, spot on. Isak is arguably the second best number 9 in the Premier League, only behind Haaland. We touched on that as well, definitely. He has to start. Tonali was absolutely sterling yesterday, superb all round. So yeah, just adding on to what we said about Isak. Just an additional question, boys. Like, look, he ain't leaving. But what do you think?
If I can, he ain't getting on no plane.
Well, no, he is, but to a Champions League game, and then he's coming straight back again. But what I will say is, what would you suggest Isak's value is now from what you've seen of him in the last year? What is his value? For everyone else in the chat as well, put your values that we'll check our phones and keep an eye on it. But what would you value Isak at now as a player, not to transfer?
If anyone from Saudi is watching, this is not. This answer is not. A come and get me plea to Isak. So no. I'm going to try and say somewhat realistic and say 150 million. I wouldn't sell him, even consider anything else.
I like that. That's where you said realistic, and I thought, oh, he's going to say 100 mil, and then you said 150. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, because for us to sell Isak, yeah, I agree, it would take a figure in that region. Trying to think of, like, you know, when you go on those websites or even Championship Manager, and you know a player's got a rating, and you go, well, that's how much he's worth, but the club would want more. I think we'd want 150 million to let go of him. But for me, I think it would be reasonable to say 120. I do. But touching on what you've said, I'd want 150 to sell him. So I'd say probably one. I think his value's doubles, especially if he continues in the same vein, because we've said before, you know, Darwin Núñez, 90 million, Højlund, who hasn't even made that many senior appearances, 75 million equation in English sterling. I'm trying to think of other strikers who've gone for big money, but he's over and above. He for me, honestly, he is genuinely the second best striker in the league. I really do, and I think it's going to be a fantastic battle when we play City, because it wouldn't surprise me if Isak stole the show. Really wouldn't surprise me.
I would agree with kind of what you've both said. Really, I think, Chris, you touched on, because I'm thinking what his value is now, and I would say his value is doubled of what it is now. So I would say anywhere between 120 and 125 is his value. But to sell him, I agree with what Dad said, 150, 100%. And there's a key reason for that, is that there are not many elite strikers around the world right now. There's just not. Like you touched on it already. Darwin Núñez, good player. I watched it at Benfica. We all did. We really wanted him at Newcastle, but he hasn't come in and done what Isak's done. He scored probably more goals over the period of time, but Isak was injured for about 5 months, and had to rebuild himself back up. I think Isak probably could have been looking at 20 goals had he not got injured and he stayed fit this season. Even Vlahovic. Remember in the first window, we were like, Vlahovic, we need him. But now, like, Juventus want rid. Like, they don't even want him. Like, and that just tells you everything you need to know. And these were big money strikers that were considered better than Isak and wanted more money than Isak. Like, so you look at that now and you think, sorry, Chris, what were you going to say?
No, mate. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I to back up what you're saying, if you approached top clubs around the world and you said, "Oh, we'll take your striker and you can have Isak," I think 99% of them take it. And you could argue, Pete. Tell me if you think I'm insane. It is a question for you. Do you think, given how Isak plays and the fact that he can play off the left, the fact that he's 23, the fact that he's showing he's doing it in the Prem, it's a mad one. Do you think Pep Guardiola would prefer an Isak in his team over Haaland? We've heard people saying, "Oh, Pep, Haaland doesn't fit Pep's, structure. The way Pep likes very fluid system. Haaland's a goal scorer, and I'm not saying that Isak's better than Haaland for 1 minute. But all I'm saying is, in a Pep Guardiola system, would he take Isak over Haaland? I think he would.
I'd say if Isak wasn't at Newcastle, and he would be considered going for him, or would consider in the future. But he's not gonna have any joy trying to go for him now. But no, we're not selling him. But at the same time, you've got that 150 million. Our FFP worries go out the window. But then we have the problem, as Pete indicated. What striker out there can we have? Is Gonçalo Ramos gone to PSG? That happened?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Who's that? Sorry,
from Benfica.
Oh, Ramos.
Ramos. Yeah. No, still want Isak.
What do you think, Pete? Would you think Pep would consider it?
I think he's the perfect player for Pep's style. Haaland is very much like Aguero, and Pep, as much as he talked to Aguero up, he didn't want him at the team in his team because he didn't fit the style. The goals made the difference, but he didn't fit the style. I think Pep's trying to make Haaland part of his system because he knows his ruthlessness in front of goal will make the difference and effectively help them on their way to win the treble. But I think as a fluid system, Isak's perfect. He is perfect. He can drift. He can pick up little pockets of positions. He's good with the ball at his feet. We know how good he is with the ball at his feet. He can link play. He can do everything. He is the perfect striker because he's the complete striker. All of the strikers are good at one thing, maybe two. Isak can do the lot. And that's why I will say he's the complete striker. He can do everything. Can do everything. And there are not many in the world that are complete like him. I would say the closest to a complete striker is probably Kylian Mbappe. And that's high praise enough. I think they are the two complete strikers that can do everything, in my opinion. But look, he ain't going anywhere. We have to emphasize that this is a discussion and an opinion about what his value is right now, not about him being sold. So I don't want anyone jumping about saying that Looney are trying to sell off Isak after one game.
Oh, no way.
No.
And the other thing about him as well, Isak, he's so cool and calm, ice man. But he comes across as a really nice guy as well. In the interviews and stuff, he just he doesn't have that big headedness about him. So credit to him as well. And again, that'll be the no dickhead policy, I guess, with Newcastle bringing in players too. But right, let's go back to the chat.
Yeah, some generalized comments in there. Thank you. That here to there. Generalized comments. Jordan 2 for Life says, "I wonder if the Villa fans Rich and Billy will join us tonight." I don't think
they have another show.
Yeah,
they have a show at 9. I think they're a review show.
Okay, so that'll be an interesting watch. I did after away days go on and show some support to Rich's channel and just say, you know what, top man, and all the rest of it, because they are a great channel.
Great lads,
great lads. And Rich he lives in Newcastle, so he understands what it means to the city and the club. What I will say is that Billy was very, very complimentary towards us. He dropped me a couple of messages after the game and just said, "You guys deserved it. You were fantastic." Properly bigged us up, and massive respect to Billy. Not heard from Rich, but obviously, like I said, Rich has got his own channel, so jump over there. Not necessarily to gloat, but just to show support and respect and what we always kind of do. Thank you for that, Jordan for Life. We also have rest of the league questioning Tonali. Come in and done exactly what expected from a Champions League quality player. Settled right in, definitely. And long may that continue as well. John didn't realise how much strength in depth we had until the Cellar Cup last week. Consequently, the bench was very strong. How important is that for the wider season? We've kind of touched on that already, to be fair. But on the core, what I will add to that, to ask you the question, boys, is that how do you think the squad will impact what we do specifically in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup? So not the Champions League and the Premier League. What do you think the squad that we've got now? How do you think that would impact us on both of those cup competitions, the Carabao and the FA?
I think they will have to play some of the fringe players in those cup competitions. Like before, we were kind of fairly when we were trying to rest people, were scraping the barrel a bit. It's not the case this time, and we will still be able to put out decent squads in the early rounds of the cup. So I don't know. Welcome, seeing giving those other players a chance that are probably in some cases are lucky not to get a regular start for Newcastle. So yeah, should be interesting.
Chris, anything to add on that question?
I think just that it's an exciting time for the fringe players on the squad as well. And I think it'll lift the performance, not just of those fringe players, but also the first team players, like we touched on before, because there's that much healthy competition now, but everyone's on the same page. And now we've got Champions League football. Yes, it's an extra competition, but it will automatically raise levels, because Eddie Howe's not going to accept, a half-hearted performance. Because if you do put in a half-hearted performance, there's a chance, that you'll lose your place. So having that competition is great. And even the central midfielders, your Tonali's, your Brunos, your Joe Lintons, when you've got the likes of Willock, Longstaff, Miley breathing down your neck, who are keen, they'll want to play Champions League football. They'll want to play in quarterfinals of FA Cups and stuff like that. So it all this healthy competition can only be a good thing for the squad.
Yeah, definitely. All healthy, all going to kick us on to the next level. I fully expect us to be competitive in all 4 competitions, but in particular those cup competitions off the back of that. Right, I'm going to ask you some of these questions individually, and then if you want to jump in with an opinion after that, go for it. Good one here. Where was it? From Ewan Malcolm, welcome to the channel. He's put, what did you think about the extra time the refs are adding on? Dan, I'll come to you with that one. What do you make about it over the course of this weekend?
I didn't. Yeah, I watched a lot of the games this weekend. You do kind of know now you're going to have a lot of extra time, but it didn't bother me so much, Of course, the Newcastle game, the injury to Mings lengthened our time considerably, because we're on the 54th minute when the whole Martinez taking out Miggy thing happened. So, but look at if it makes it if we're getting all our full allocated 90 minutes, and it eliminates some of the games, let's say, gamesmanship, I don't mind so much.
Anything to add about the...
All I wanted to add, Pete, and I agree with Daz, I think, but there will be occasions this season where we're frustrated. Teams will score in the if there's 8 minutes added on, we'll moan about it, because we'll go, oh, bloody hell, there shouldn't have been 8 minutes. It was never 8 minutes. We're gonna have that, but I think it will. You make your own luck, and I think as long as we stay intense, as long as we keep pressing, as long as we keep working hard, we make our own luck. But one thing I will add, I was watching the Liverpool-Chelsea game, and I think it was the 65th minute, and Trent Alexander-Arnold was time wasting over the throw-in. So I reminded all my red mates. I said, "Oh, isn't that funny? 65th minute, away from home, 1-1. Trent's time wasting." I said, "Where else have we seen that?" But apparently, we made that up. So just thought I'd add that in.
Got booked for it as well, didn't he?
He certainly did, and I was pleased to see that card. He couldn't believe it, but you could tell by the look on his face. He was like, "Yeah." He knew what he was doing.
And then proceeded to give the worst throw possible that just gave the possession back to Chelsea.
Just launched it. Yeah. So, I was pleased to see that. Surprisingly, nobody commented on that when I put it in my group chat. Very strange, but never mind.
Not surprised. Right. Going through just some comments on here from N9. Big W for our admin with the bro doesn't even want to be here tweet. They are playing a blinder at the moment with some of their admin stuff. That's for sure. I'll come back to you on this one, Chris, because it is Gordon related. Like the way Gordon runs the defenders ragged for 70 minutes, then Barnes comes on and to capitalise. Clever strategy by Eddie. Do you agree that it's a strategy, clever one?
I think so, yeah. And I think, to be fair, we could see it the other way around. I can see Barnes starting and then bringing on Gordon. But this is the thing, Kepty. It's all about the options. We've now got options, and this is the brilliant thing. We saw the same thing on the right with Jacob Murphy. We've got options, and I'm loving it.
Definitely. Anything to add, Daz?
Yeah, no, it is a clever strategy, and look, that's why I'd like to. It's the same thing could come into effect if Gordon was on the right and Barnes on the left, and then bring Miggy on and run ragged as well. So yeah, it's going to be, and we have Elliot Anderson as well as an option to come and play in that wing position as well if needs be.
We've got 4 lung busting wingers that we've just spoke about there: Barnes, Gordon, Miggy, Murphy. Daz is right. We've got Elliot Anderson who can go there. We've got Isaac who can go there. We've got Willock who can go there. Joe Linton who can go there. It's looking good.
Yeah, Murphy's still one that surprises me. He's a great utility player to have. And like there's times in the past when I've put him up for auction, that's for sure. But no,
We all
he's
did.
yeah. And he seems to get it as well. You know, no, happy that he's with our squad. At the same time, I was just thinking as well because I was thinking that today. I was thinking, imagine if someone else saw the qualities that Murphy is now offering as well, and then threw in a nice little offer to him. Would we consider, and then to boost our FFP and go for someone else? I'm not trying to get rid of Murphy because I think he's a quality asset to have first now, and I'd never thought I'd be saying that, but you never know.
I don't know whether clubs could afford him now, Daz, because I think we were previously talking about 10, 12 million. I wonder now whether we go, well, we want 20 million for them. And it's whether or not a club would pay that. And for what he brings to us and our team and, Newcastle fan and gives 110% utility, right back, even at a push. And he just wants to be there. He just wants to be there. And you can't doubt him in that. Every single picture. I mean, just look how happy he is all the time. He's just permanent. The lad is just living. He's just living the dream. Isn't he? Living the dream. Yeah.
Definitely. A few more things to get through. There's a couple of conversations about this actually that are happening. I'll put this out here to both of you actually because it's relevant. Klopp asked about when asked about the new Premier League rule where only one coach can be in the technical area at any one time. He said, "Think it's only a problem for one team, Newcastle. Sorry."
Doesn't Klopp have a history of saying things and they come back and biting him on the arse? Yeah, but did he say something like if the day he's bidding or signing £100 million player, the day he's out of a job or something like that? Yeah, and yeah, this then while to carry on, he's up down on the sideline.
Chris, is your mum still in the chat? I said to her earlier, she needs to have a word with him. She needs to have a word.
Do you know what though? The more and more he mentions us and he talks about ceilings and he talks about can't compete and all stuff like that, it's all just he's rattled. He's absolutely rattled, and he knows come the 27th, there's nowhere to hide.
Yes, we need to put them to the sword. We owe them one at St James's.
We do.
Another quick comment, Daz. We're going to need a very wide pavement this year, referring to the dog walking. We've got one on there already, as you put on earlier.
Here, somewhere. Here he is. Isaac with his new pup.
Yeah,
that pup needs a friend.
Yeah.
I hope he gets a friend next weekend.
Yeah, he needs a sky blue friend next week, and then a red friend after that. That would be nice. But yeah, Brett C, absolutely spot on. Question
before you leave that, do you think the Newcastle players get these memes as well, and just like laughing at them, like last year, obviously with the 20 dogs or 10 dogs that Isaac was floating around with? I'm sure I got a laugh in the changing room as well. So be interesting to see how it plays out this season. Whoever come up with the idea, I love it.
It's quality. I love it. Absolutely love it. More to come. Stu, question. One of the lads put to me over the weekend: are we worried about losing our top players to the likes of Madrid, City, etc. over the next 12 to 18 months? They think they're bound to come sniffing. So Stu's mates think that those teams will come for our big players very, very soon. Are you worried about that over the next 12 to 18 months? I'll ask you both that one.
You want to go first, Chris, or would I?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, just by the way, just to add on the dog comment, it was interesting. I had a link in with Klopp because I went to go and watch my goddaughter play football this morning, And I was telling my mates that Klopp is always walking his dog on that very field. I didn't see him this morning because he was probably, preparing for the match. But yeah, so Klopp, maybe we'll see Klopp walking his dog, and we can mention it to him, and we can have a picture of Klopp's head. Maybe Isak can be walking Klopp. I don't know. Something to think about, Daz. No, I'll be honest, Stu, not really. For two reasons. The first reason is that I think I struggle to see Newcastle players wanting to leave for these so-called bigger clubs because of the journey we're on. Yes, the pull of Real Madrid would be big, and City and Bayern and teams like that. But I think, one, we don't need to sell, so we get a maximum price for them anyway. And the second reason is that I firmly believe that the club we've probably got a list of players that we would approach should a circumstance happen. So I think even if we were to do that, we'd get our business all tied up. And if we did see, I don't know, and again, I'm throwing names out here, I'm not saying they're going, but, if we did see a Bruno leave, or we saw a Joe Linton leave, or we saw a Botman leave, or whatever, we just have a ready-made replacement ready to go. I don't want to see any players leave, but I think the right decision would be made by the club. But we're under no pressure to sell, and I can't see players wanting to leave either.
I think, a top players that we don't want to sell won't be going anywhere. We'll tie them down to contracts to make sure that'll happen as well. But I think there's also going to be an element of it that we are going to have to trade. We saw with ASM that we do have to make a decision as well for that selling one player will allow us to bring in two, let's say, because it can spread out the price over a number of years with FFP. Let's say, for example, a Miggy in next year. Next summer might be someone that we look to sell and then upgrade, or I don't know. But yeah, it's nothing to worry about yet, and not the Isaks, the Brunos, Tonali's, the big Botmans, the key players. Let's say
the key players don't get sold. It's as simple as that. Not if you're trying to build to win the league and be competitive in the Champions League. You don't sell your best players. Oh, mute again.
God's sake. So sorry. It's this bloody Blaze. Yeah. Pete, not to digress too much, but for you, I was going to say name 5 players, but there might be more. Who's the spine, or who are the players that you think are the untouchables that we just wouldn't even be a conversation?
The ones that I don't want to leave the club are Isak, Sandro Tonali, Bruno, but I think he'll be part of the other group, if I'm honest with you, if I'm being totally honest. So the ones I don't want to leave: Isak, Bruno, Sandro, Joe Linton, Sven Botman, and then I think there's potential for someone like Harvey Barnes to be in there. Potential for him to be in there. I don't think he'll leave. I think he'll fully see out of his contract. But those 5: Isak, Bruno, Sandro, Botman, Joe Linton, they're my unsellables. But I think Bruno will be part of the sellables at some point, being honest.
Okay.
Happy for me to move on. Only got a couple left.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, there's one little comment here from Ian McKenna. I hope you're well. Barnes in numbers, that's 3 goals and 2 assists in 2 games. I think on as a sub, you are absolutely right. More to come. That question we've already had about selling players. We've got from Brexy again. Interesting to see this year the player getting kicked seems to be picking up cards for waving an imaginary card, whereas the kicker gets away scot-free, I think is what he was referring to say. I think he's referring to Bruno getting the yellow card because I think there was a foul on Tonali when he gets pulled back blatantly. The free kick gets given. I think Bruno picks up the board and kind of puts his hand up like that. And then the referee makes a beeline for him to book him and make a point of doing it. Whether it's just something to emphasise to the players early on in the season and it fizzles out, I don't know. But are you boys in the same mindset? Got a different opinion on that?
Every year they try to bring in different rules or tweak things a bit. I think that there's been a raft of that kind of over the number of matches at the weekend. It'll probably keep playing out until someone picks up 2 yellow cards for doing that, or one of them being like that and getting sent off for just doing that, and then it gets to the stage that's ridiculous and they have to relax a little bit. But yeah, you kind of don't want that in the game either. But you have a bit of common sense approach to it too. Like, you wouldn't send a player off for doing that. Like, let's say someone's on a yellow and they do that, it's a farce then at that stage. So
you could argue the other way though, Daz, if they carry on doing it, will managers be saying, listen, no more of this, don't be doing this, just leave it, stop it, because otherwise it's a bit like when players were taking the shirts off, when they scored a goal, and now they just don't do it. I mean, obviously, if it means nothing, and they're not gonna, they haven't already been booked, and towards the end of the season, yes, they may do it, but you see a lot less of that. So maybe referees are trying to stamp it down and just go, listen, it's a zero tolerance now. You do that, you're getting booked, and then players will soon catch on and go, better stop doing that.
No. As long as our players ain't getting booked, I don't really care. But that's the important thing. Alan Thompson has made one point on here that we're starting. There's a couple of interesting ones in the chat to wrap up. How is Billy feeling on away days? Obviously, he's on about Villa Billy. It's going to be a good on Race for Short Show when he's next on. We will look at sorting out another one of those very, very soon, and we'll get Billy on for his thoughts. That's for sure. But what was interesting is that Bobby put on that conversation that I talked about where I thought that Bruno might be part of the sellable ones in the future. And he put, we get, say, 80 million for Bruno and we bring in another top draw midfielder. Someone else had come back and said, well, if Casado's going for 110, what's Bruno Guimaraes' value? So, boys, I'm going to ask you, what is... hypothetically, his current value for you right now at Newcastle United? What is he valued at? Not what we're looking to sell him at, because we don't want to sell him, but what is his value at this stage?
Bruno, realistic value for Bruno. Here I go again. I'm going to say 135 million. For Bruno.
135 million. Okay. Chris?
It's a very, very interesting question, isn't it? Because Bruno plays in the 6. And if you were to say to me, if Arsenal rang us now and went, we'll give you Rice, we'll take Bruno, I'd say no. So Rice went for 105. Caicedo's meant to be going for 111. I'd say. Do you know what? It's a bit of a cop out. I'd say probably the same as Isaac. I'd say probably 120 million price tag. 120 mil value. I think the club would look at maybe 130, 140, similar to what Daz said. I think if they went over 110, I think the club would listen. Being honest. Maybe push to 120, 130. That's how I see it. What about you, Pete?
No, exactly the same. 120 million is his current value for me right now, but I wouldn't sell him for anything less than 150. We don't need to sell him. We don't want to sell him. But for teams willing to pay crazy money for one of our players, and there's a player out there that we can go and spend for considerably less than that, and end this FFP as a conversation for a number of years that helps us progress, then that's a conversation we'd need to have. But I don't think we'll be having that conversation for quite a while. I've got to be honest with you.
If that happens, no, I was just going to say, if that happens, we were selling Bruno for those 150 million, whatever. That's like a Keegan Cole situation on the steps, just trying to explain it to the fans, moment, because the knock-on effect there as well. It's a hypothetical situation which we don't want to happen. Just bear that in mind. Is that the knock-on effect to Joe Linton, and at that stage probably Tonali as well. Domino effect. But who would we be bringing in them? But that would be a massive move if that was to ever happen down the line.
Yeah. Just to echo what you said, Daz, definitely don't want it to happen. Not suggesting he's going, not suggesting we'd sell him, but throwing it out there, devil's advocate. You know what we do. If Saudi were to come in and go 150, bang. I'm no expert on amortization, but theoretically, players then over 5-year contracts. Are you talking we'd have 750 million to spend? Like if they put the whole whack in front and they said we'll give you 150 million cash up front, that transforms the whole squad. I'm not saying I want to get rid of them, but that's a game changer. That's a Bavella. That's a Bavella. That's a Phil Mendy. It's you're getting a centre back, a left back. You're getting another central midfielder. You're upgrading the right wing. You're bringing in a third choice striker. That's for me. But I'm not saying I want rid of him. Not saying we should do it.
No,
just a conversation.
Yeah.
And one thing to add to that is what you said is that we don't even need Saudi to pay all that money up front. It'd be great if they did, because as Darren Neal's quite rightly talked about in his latest interview, is that as soon as a fee is agreed for one of our players and they pay that money automatically goes into our accounts as it is. And it may well be structured over the point of time, but it automatically goes in. So for example, 23 million in Ansett Maximin, that automatically shows up in our accounts as 23 million, even if it is structured over a few years. We can go and use it straight away, which I thought was quite interesting. So we don't need necessarily the money up front. I thought we did, because we've had a conversation before, and we've said, well, if Saudi going to pay it up front, then great, because we can go and spend it. But actually, the reality is, and Darren Neal said it in a recent interview, I think it was the other day, that money for whatever the buying club agrees the fee with you with. So, for example, if it was 150 million for a player, and it might be staggered over how many years, but that automatically shows into your account as 150 million. Okay. You can go then and do what you want with it. So I thought that was really interesting. But a couple of other points. Your mum is still there, Chris, when I asked the question. She needs to have a word with clock. So I'll get you when you're on your next call with her to just remind her of that conversation. Predator has put, all right, lads, as the team and the club evolves, players will come and go. That's just the way evolution is. For example, Maxi leaving was to help bring in an upgrade such as Harvey Barnes, which is absolutely right. And the last one from me is from Stu, in fact, but the last comment from me, unpopular opinion, maybe, but I can see us going for a keeper who's better with his feet within the next couple of seasons. Yes or no, if you agree, boys?
I agree, wholly.
It's going to happen, but I love Nick Pope. But yeah, it is going to happen down the line, and I think next summer might be the time to start looking, and someone to compete with Pope, not to replace him straight away, rather than just to compete and let them battle it out. Look at the changes in keepers, and look at Chelsea. There's Kepa going to Real Madrid because Courtois got injured, and they're going to bring in someone else now as well. And I know they have brought in Sanchez from Brighton, but it's merry-go-round with goalkeepers at the moment as well.
And what's happening with David De Gea? He still hasn't got a club, apparently.
And look at Hugo Lloris retired there after we played Spurs. So
a bit like the striker conversation before, boys. We were saying that there's not an influx, is there, of top level strikers. You could argue the same thing for the keepers. Like I was going to say to you boys then, who would you pick? But it's a hard question, because you don't look at other keepers and go, oh, they're brilliant, they're excellent, they're this, they're that. A lot of teams are struggling to really bring in a top draw goalkeeper. It seems that they've diminished a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I have the same problem in FIFA. Diego Costa from Porto is the only one I ever seem to think of to bring in. But yeah, there's not that many up and coming out there that I'm aware of. But
Donnarumma,
Donnarumma, yeah, he's class.
He's
a PSG, so he's not going to go on.
Exactly. Yeah.
That, I think, boys, is about it from me. What I will say is that there's just under 200 likes in the chat currently, but there's 270 plus watching right now. So if you haven't already, just click the like. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. Let's get us on the way to get us right in the thick of things from 6K, and we're going to be moving further and forward as the weeks progress. But thank you for tuning in, as always, boys.
Nice one.
Back to you.
Yeah, no. Apologies to everyone who the StreamYard chats stopped working for us. We weren't able to see your comments, but Pete brought a few of the comments up. But yeah, hope you enjoyed our reaction show. We'll be back for more during the week. There's going to be a few shows unloaded during the week, and then we'll be back with an away days show party on the Thursday and a reaction show on the Sunday. So thanks for sticking with us. And Chris, what would you like to say?
How'd you like that?
How'd you like that? Good night.
Drink it, like me, then tell me if you like that, like that.